You have been tasked with introducing the fabulously campy, famously sapphic show Xena Warrior Princess, the show about a badass warrior, Xena, and her sidekick Gabrielle to someone who has never watched it before, but is open to getting a taster. You want to not only showcase the absolute gayness that exists between Xena and Gabrielle, while also giving them an idea of the overall show, but where to start. Today we're going to cover the gayest Xena episodes, with the episode I would start someone out on at the end. Now, you might think that the season 2 episode A Day in the Life should be my number one pick. As a rightly beloved episode, it allows us as the audience to peek behind the curtains to see what's going on in the moments in between all the action. We get to see the affectionate bickering between Xena and Gabrielle with strong married vibes, innuendos about their relationship as Gabrielle is getting slapped in the face with fish.
Does Xena ever think about settling down and getting married?
No. She likes what I do.
And suggestive exchanges like this.
This was our only frying pan. You do have weapons, don't you? I like to be creative in a fight. It gets my juices going. Can we cook with your juices?
In addition, I cannot forget the bathtub scene, or Gabrielle using Xena as a climbing pole and using her breast as a handhold, or lying on a shared bedroll at the end of the day stargazing, and Gabby giving Xena an affectionate goodnight kiss. The episode highlights the close and loving relationship they have with what I read as a spicy dose of tension. But this episode, with its light-hearted comedy, is a bit too much of an anomaly to adequately give us a taste for the show, so while it is most definitely a worthy contender, it does not get my top spot. I just got to this episode over on Patreon, where I have been reviewing and recapping every episode of the show on my Sapphic Warrior video podcast and mining it for all the Sapphic content it has to offer, and I tell you, what a delight to revisit this episode. It still makes me laugh with delight 29 years on. If you want to join me on that journey, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. Like A Day in the Life, When Fates Collide, arguably the most romantic and most main text Sapphic episode of the entire series, would also not be my top pick due to it being something of an outlier in the canon of the show. But the setup also allows us to take Xena and Gabrielle into a parallel universe and allows them, over the episode, to fall in love in a far more condensed and overt way than the rest of the show.
I'll love you forever.
Don't touch her.
They're not even trying to hide the fact that this is what they're doing, probably because it was almost the end of the series and they had nothing left to lose, while the overall show had to be a lot more careful about its love story due to conservative pressures. In essence, this episode served to loudly proclaim what they had been seeding throughout the show, and what fans had been seeing, a categorically sapphic relationship between two soulmates. Xena had only to lay her eyes on Gabrielle when she is brought out on stage as the playwright of a story about true love that her breath is taken away.
Do you really believe that kind of love exists? It's what we all dream about, isn't it? Someone would look so deeply into our soul that they'd find something worth dying for.
And this is only reinforced when she sees Gabrielle come out on her balcony that night. The instinct to hide, the way she emerges from the shadows, clearly depicts a woman who has fallen head over heels in love. This is only extrapolated further as the episode goes on, with Gabrielle declaring,
I write about love, but I've never felt it before.
and
When I'm with you, this emptiness that I have felt my entire life is gone.
this numbers amongst my favourites along with A Day in the Life, but perhaps not the right episode to start someone on. Many Happy Returns is another delightfully gay episode. The premise perhaps doesn't give this away because it centres around saving a virgin sacrifice and then trying to convince said virgin sacrifice that she deserves to live, which requires the help of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. But it does have the gayest moment of the entire show. By the end of the 6th season, the two ladies are very much established in their dynamic. Like A Day in the Life, we get to see their light-hearted rapport with a nice side of ribbing in the form of birthday pranks.
Stop, Xena. Would you get your cold, clammy feet off me?
Gabrielle, I don't know what you're talking about.
They are seasoned travellers, adept at setting up camp and diving naked into picturesque waters replete with waterfalls, teasing out a narrative through the episode that frames Xena and Gabrielle as a couple, a team, partners. And it is all tied up in a bow with Xena's birthday present for Gabrielle at the end of the episode, namely a poem from Sappho. Sappho, of course, being the renowned poet from the Isle of Lesbos in ancient Greece, who wrote celebrated poetry about women who love women. Sappho being where we get the word sapphic and lesbian from. And then, of course, there is the actual poem that Sappho wrote about how Xena feels for Gabrielle.
There's a moment when I look at you, and no speech is left in me. My tongue breaks, then fire races under my skin, and I tremble and grow pale, for I am dying of such love, or so it seems to me.
Could anything be gayer than that? Well, perhaps going to hell in order to save your soulmate from eternal damnation is gayer than that. While Sappho's poem are just words, Xena is quite ready to take direct action to save the woman she loves, as is Gabrielle.
Michael, Gabrielle's soul and mine were destined to be together. I can't let her walk through hell alone.
Xena and Gabrielle have been crucified and their souls are meant to go to heaven, but demons from hell rise up and capture Gabrielle, something Xena will not stand for, and she is ready to throw herself off a cliff in order to join her. Perhaps you'd argue that this episode shouldn't even make this list because there are many that didn't make it that are also very gay, but the fact that Xena, having traded her place in heaven for a place in hell to save the soul of her greatest nemesis Callisto, who therefore becomes consumed with evil and has forsaken all that is good, still holds a love for Gabrielle that cannot be destroyed.
Gabrielle, the love that we have, it's stronger than heaven or hell. It transcends good or evil. It's an end in itself.
The framing of their feelings for each other is revealed through such epic proportions that I can't leave this one out. Nor could I leave the quest out, even if it centers around the pain that Gabrielle experiences when Xena dies following internal bleeding from being hit by a battering ram in a previous episode, Destiny. While traveling to fulfill Xena's dying wish for her body to be taken to Amphipolis to lay by her brother, Gabrielle is called upon to fulfill her duty as an Amazon princess, and throughout we get repeated moments where Gabrielle speaks to Xena.
Xena, I'll always love you, but I know I have to let you go.
Talking about how empty she feels with her gone, palpably showing the devastation she feels at her death. In addition, Xena is working from the other side to come back for only one reason, because Gabrielle wishes it.
You can't leave me. I know it's not your time. I just feel this emptiness that I've never known before, and it scares me.
I have to go back.
In addition, this is the episode which broke my baby gay brain when Xena, having heard all of Gabrielle's internal monologues because the dead can hear the living, she then transports Gabrielle into a place between worlds, and as a way to reassure her that she is not yet gone and fighting to get back to her, she leans in to kiss Gabrielle.
Gabrielle will always be here.
This is one of the episodes which really got the powers that be riled up about the sapphic subtext, the other being the bath scene in A Day in the Life, and Rob Tappert, the executive producer, was told to tone it down on the gay, which they obviously ignored given that 4 seasons later they were not only still having the ladies kiss, but framing it as the two ladies being soulmates for all of eternity, as we see in the Rheingold trilogy. Indeed, these 3 episodes feel like an ode to the Xena and Gabrielle love story, going so far as to frame it using the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty. When Xena is called upon to right a wrong from long ago when she used to ride with the Valkyries in the land of the Norse, she ditches Gabrielle, unwilling to drag her into what she sees as a suicide mission. Gabrielle, being, by this time, the excellent tracker she is, follows Xena because she would never let her face this alone, and upon arriving, she meets Brunhilde, a Valkyrie who promptly falls in love with her.
We're soulmates.
My love is strong. I can feel it.
I'm trying to tell you that Xena and I are meant to be together. We didn't make it that way. It just is.
Xena reveals that long ago she'd forged a ring from Rheingold which held immense power but could only be used if the person had forsaken love. While she had back then, now with Gabrielle that is no longer true, so when she is cornered into wearing the ring, she loses that which she values most, her identity, and along with it her memory of Gabrielle.
And she lost what she values most. You. The memories of you and the woman that you helped her to become.
Brunhilde, wanting to protect Gabrielle and the ring, turns herself into an eternal flame, a flame that only her soulmate can walk through. Xena eventually finds her way back to Gabrielle, motivated by a vision of her calling her home.
I'm lost without you, Xena.
And it is through the kiss that she gives Gabrielle that her sense of self is restored, making a very firm point of how these two are profoundly and beautifully connected through their love for each other. And I would have quite happily said that these 3 episodes would be a great place to start someone on, but for a few reasons, I would choose One Against an Army. While the Rheingold trilogy covers so much, with Xena's dark past once again touching on a recurring narrative in the show and showcasing the immense love between Xena and Gabrielle, it's so late in the series that a huge amount of history underpins these 3 episodes. One Against an Army does come after the Rift, which means that a lot has happened here too, but it's halfway through the show and therefore still showcases them in a place in the overall arc that is partway between the earlier seasons and the later ones. It's a beautiful episode that puts the Xena and Gabrielle relationship squarely at the center, while offering the kind of kick-ass fighting that the show is known for. Overall, it feels a bit more like a typical Xena episode, with the stakes turned way up, given that Xena is struggling with making the choice between the greater good, stopping the Persian army from invading Athens, or saving Gabrielle after she is hit with a poisonous arrow that requires a specific antidote. The theme of the greater good is one that runs through the entire show and is brought into poignant relief with the quiet, emotionally charged conversations between the two.
When I reach down inside myself and do things that I'm not capable of, it's because of you. Don't you know that by now?
It also gives us the quiet moments of Gabrielle after waking from a nightmare, watching Xena sleep, or the way in her feverish delirium she is taken back to the very moment she met Xena and begging to go with her.
You gotta take me with you. Teach me everything you know. I want so much to be like you. And I want to be like you.
And so this would be the episode I would show someone first. Of course, there are many more episodes that showcase the relationship between Xena and Gabby that did not make this list, so feel free to nominate the ones you would pick in the comments, and if you want to dive more deeply into the show, come visit me over on Patreon. Until next time, lady lovers.